Hello everyone and welcome to today's presentation, Datto Product Deep Dive, Own Cloud on Cirrus. I'm Matt Rowley, Marketing Program Manager at Datto, and I'm joined today by Saad Alam, Product Marketing Manager at Datto, and Brian Mandel, Product Manager at Datto. Today we'll be going over Datto's newest product, Own Cloud on Cirrus, as well as getting a demo from Brian. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items to address. First, this presentation is being recorded and will be made available for on-demand viewing on the Datto website within 24 hours. All attendees will be notified when the presentation is available. Second, if time allows, we'll be holding a brief question and answer session at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions for the team, please feel free to enter them into the chat panel in your GoToWebinar app. Be sure to answer as many questions as time allows at the end of the presentation. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Saad Alam. Take it away, Saad.
Hey, Matt, thank you so much for that intro. And first of all, I just want to say thanks to everybody on the call for joining us today on this great webinar that we're going to do on Own Cloud on Cirrus. What we're going to do really is, before Brian gets into his product deep dive and demo of the actual new product, I'm going to take about 10 minutes or so and kind of talk about the actual product itself. So Own Cloud on Cirrus, a little overview, as well as the challenges that we believe Own Cloud on Cirrus is really solving for the SMB and for you. So if we talk about the business environment today, right, it's very obvious that businesses today are more on the go and more mobile than ever before, right? It's pretty obvious, and why wouldn't we be, right? We have smartphones and tablets and laptops, and all these things allow us to really do business anywhere and at any time we want. As a matter of fact, if we look at a recent survey done by AT&T and the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council, you'll see that 94% of the people surveyed said that they've done business on their tablet or smartphone. Now, that number itself is pretty high, and I was pretty surprised by that. But what's an even more staggering number is the fact that over 2 billion hours has been saved as a result of doing business on your tablet or smartphone. That's a very large number, and that number will undoubtedly continue to grow. So as we're talking about the optimization and efficiencies gained by using these mobile devices, there's one part, there's definitely a trade-off here, right? So as we're becoming more on the go and doing business outside of our regular business environment, we're also basically taking the data outside of the business environment, right? So the data no longer lives just inside your local server. Files and tools are being accessed right from your mobile devices and laptops and created on these devices. So what SMBs really need to do is to be able to securely sync and share these files from mobile devices, and in the same process be able to back up remote laptops and desktops. We know that this is the case because, quite frankly, partners, you guys, and the MSPs, other MSPs, have asked us to help with this problem and help us tackle this challenge. And that's really where Datto is proud to be partnering with Own Cloud and introduce Own Cloud on Cirrus. This new file sync and share, enterprise-level file sync and share tool is available on all existing and new Cirrus devices. And what I'd like to do now is really take you through what it really means when we say enterprise-level file sync and share. So let's take a look at that. So first of all, Own Cloud really gives you enterprise functionality, but built for small businesses, right? You have functionality such as logging and auditing, which enable you to track and trace, who's accessing the files, where and when. You have versioning control, so you can see different versions of a file and basically be able to go back and use whatever version or view whatever version of a file you feel like viewing. It gives you, the MSP, control, right? So you have advanced permissions. You can, help the small business with whatever permissions that they feel like they need to ensure the security of their data and their files. And finally, you have mobile support. So what that means is you can basically connect to these files from any mobile device, right? That's the beauty of we're talking about with Own Cloud on Cirrus, giving small businesses the accessibility that they need for their secure file sharing. Now, when you talk about these enterprise level functionality, you really think of two business or use cases, right? So with OwnCloud on Cirrus, again, these are use cases that you've told us you need solved. So file sync and share is really the #1 use case that we're talking about here. The ability to share files across devices, regardless of which device you're using, and synchronize these changes right on your local Cirrus device. So there's a key differentiator here, right? So these files are still housed and stored on your local Cirrus device in a very secure business environment, and yet you're still being able to access these files from anywhere at any time. That's really use case #1, file sync and share. And of course, because these are all housed on the local Cirrus device, you obviously get the benefit of securely having all these the files on the Cirrus device backed up to the Datto cloud. Use case #2 is actually a very cool feature. Well, at least I think it's very cool. It's file level backup. So what we're really talking about here is for those remote laptops or desktops that, maybe you have employees working from home or are always on the road. They're creating new files and folders on their remote desktops and laptops. But how are these things being brought back into the office, right? How are you securing these files, this data that you need back in your office? Well, with OwnCloud on Cirrus, you can now do file level backups on these remote laptops and desktops. So this is perfect, again, for the use cases where you have employees either working from home or just are on the road constantly, and they're creating files, and instead of having these files shared via third-party cloud, these are housed right on the Cirrus device because you can back up all these files. Now, rather than talk about the differentiators of how OwnCloud differentiates from its competition, let's talk more about what OwnCloud on Cirrus is and what it's not. Well, it is built to be easy to administer and manage for you. It is built for businesses. In short, it was basically made for MSPs by Datto and OwnCloud. That's the whole point here, right? We know what the MSP wants. We know what you partners want. And we made this specifically for your needs to be able to do file sync and share and file level backup on laptops and desktops. What it is not is a consumer level file sharing tool. In other words, it's not your typical Dropbox type application. It's not cloud only, right? So first of all, you're getting OwnCloud on Cirrus on all existing and new Cirrus devices. So if you have a Cirrus, you're getting OwnCloud on Cirrus with it. But it's not a cloud-only solution. So you're not just sharing these files and folders in a remote, third-party cloud. You're actually hosting these on your local Cirrus, so you know it's safe, you know where these are, and you're just giving permissions to access the files via the Datto cloud, which actually Brian will talk about a little bit more later on. So just rounding this all out, what does it really mean for you and for your customers or your end users? Well, for you, you can basically use a single instance of OwnCloud to back up or to do file level backups on remote laptops and desktops for multiple small customers. That's a great value add to you. But for your end users, you're also adding more value on the Cirrus than ever before. You're bringing the data back home for the SMB. Again, you're creating more security around this data, right? Total data protection, that's what it's all about. You're basically providing more security by avoiding a public third-party cloud. You no longer have to send massive emails with large attachments or share via something like a Dropbox because these files are being housed on your local Cirrus. You know exactly where these are and still providing accessibility for doing business on the go. And finally, you're providing a file level backup solution for remote laptops and desktops, right? So again, those road warriors, those people who are always like on the road making files and creating more documents, you need a way to be able to secure these files and documents inside your business. And that's what OwnCloud on Cirrus allows you to do. And of course, Just a reminder, it's available on all existing and new Cirrus devices. So with that quick overview, I'd like to now turn it over to Brian Mandel, and he's going to do a really cool little demo for us. Brian?
Thank you very much, Saad. I've just been made presenter here. Okay, great. So I'm super excited. Just like Saad said, you know, OwnCloud, if you do a little research, is a standalone organization and a standalone product that people really invest heavily in and of itself. So the fact that partners are able to get this with every Cirrus for no additional charge, no additional monthly service, is just something that I personally I'm hugely excited about, because it really makes the Cirrus so much more valuable. I like to think of it not only in terms of, you know, your own cloud, but it's kind of like your own private Dropbox. So you can imagine all the stuff is hosted right on the Cirrus device. And that's the key thing. And to show you that, I want to show you the Cirrus device where my own cloud lives. So if the demo gods are smiling fondly upon us this morning, you can see this is my Cirrus Business 1000, one of the many units the product team keeps for testing here. I'm a big believer in live demos, a little more risk, but always a lot of fun. So I want to show you that this is, in fact, the unit that we're using for the demo. It's not some canned thing. So we have a monitor hooked up to it here. And if you can get past the backwards image and grainy screen resolution, you'll see that this says Product SB 1000. Okay? I'll spare you looking at myself, and we'll switch back to the screen share. Okay, great. So let's take a look at this. You can see I've highlighted here the Product SB 1000. So my own cloud files literally live on this Cirrus sitting right next to me. Really cool. Okay, so let's start with the basics. First, like, how do you get this on your Cirrus? Okay, if you have an up-to-date Cirrus and it's plugged into the network, it will be receiving updates. And so up here, you'll see a button called Get Own Cloud. But you don't see the Get on mine because I already have it installed, right? So that's the question, like, how did I get it installed? Well, if you go to Configure and Device Settings, you'll see in the top left here is all the configuration. Now you might think, like, wait, that's it? And that's entirely the point. People say, like, what other setup is there? What else do I have to do? Like, where's the manual, the extra pages? And that's it, right? If you don't have OwnCloud, this uninstall button in orange that I'm most decidedly not going to click right now would be an install button. And it's literally like 1 minute, and you have it. So after you've installed, right, the underlying challenge is that you have this box that we saw. It serves as your kind of file sync and share repository, but you want to make it accessible from anywhere so that people who are on the road can get at the files, collaborate no matter where they are. So what we've done is to go ahead and do all of the hard work for you. So the bottom line is you don't need to configure a public IP for the device. You don't need to rely on a shaky, slow VPN connection. Literally, all you need to do to make this accessible is click on, right where my mouse is here, where I've highlighted. So I have my public internet access on. You can turn it on and off as needed. And when it's on, you'll see this gives me a link. So how does this work, right? We're actually able to do this through the use of something called relay servers that live in the Datto cloud. So basically, when a user initiates a connection here, they're actually talking to the device through the Datto cloud. So the magic is that we've made, like, everything totally seamless and super fast. You just click once, and you might think, oh, it goes to the cloud, like, so there's a delay, right? You'll see in this demo that it's almost instantaneous. When you make a change, the sync back to the Cirrus device. So we invested a ton of time in kind of giving you the functionality, but not compromising on the performance. So on this screen here, before we dive into the web interface, there's one more thing to note, and that's permission. You'll see it says your user, Datto, has permission to access OwnCloud. So this is another great advantage of OwnCloud as opposed to Dropbox or something like this. It's granular permission. But to set up kind of the most basic level of permissions. You know, how did my Datto user get that? Well, I'm going to go to configure and local users contact, or I can just click the local users link here. So when I click that, you'll notice that once you have OwnCloud installed and enabled on your device, two separate things, of course, you'll see there's another button here next to each local user where you can toggle OwnCloud on and off. So maybe there are some users that you want to have access to that OwnCloud, and there are others that you can say, look, those are only Datto users. They don't need the OwnCloud, and I don't want them kind of messing around with it. Okay, so now that we have our users set up, let's go and take a look at the actual web client interface. What we've done is take the OwnCloud interface, which is awesome, and make it even better with a few custom Datto things that'll really add value. Okay, so once you have this installed, you actually just click this OwnCloud link right here, and it will open up a new tab. So this is what the web client looks like. Notice, in addition to the web client, if we kind of look back at that device settings page, oops, wrong one, you'll see this public link here. So we were automatically redirected to the web interface, but the link I have highlighted on the screen is how you get there. So point being, if you have someone with mobile devices or a desktop client and they need to point to your Cirrus, to the OwnCloud on your Cirrus, this is the link that you're going to use. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, I'd really love to make this next part interactive and see how it goes here. So Matt Riley is going to assist by pasting the URL that I've highlighted on my screen into the chat window on your GoToWebinar. So I'll give everyone a second to process that. Open up the chat panel on your GoToWebinar. It's probably towards the bottom of your GoToWebinar control panel, and you'll see a link, and you'll also see credentials. So what I'm allowing everyone to do is get into the Cirrus that's sitting right here in my conference room with one link, okay? And as the link says there, both the username and password are lowercase Datto. Okay, so now that we've pasted this information in, I'm just going to wait a few seconds to give everyone a chance. Okay, now as you're logging in here and getting used to it, I'm going to proceed really slowly with the demo. And I want everyone to follow along. That way the end result on the screen here is going to look so cool. Okay, so open up your favorite text editor. Mine happens to be TextMate for the Mac. Okay, and what we're going to do on this screen, follow along, I'm going to type my name, and I'm also going to type my position where at work here. And I'm also going to type where I work, okay? If you don't want to sync up all your personal information with my Cirrus sitting next to me, you're more than welcome to make up any details you want here. But the bottom line is just tell us a little bit about yourself or someone fictional. So I'm going to save that. And it actually doesn't matter kind of where you save it. Just save it in a folder where you're going to know where it is. And I'm going to call this Brian Info, right? I'll save it. So to summarize, all we've done is create a text file, entered some information, and saved it in a location where we can keep track of it, right? Now I'm going to demo taking this text file and uploading it to the OwnCloud instance on my Cirrus, okay? So follow along with me here. You see next to this new button, there's an up arrow, okay? And you should know that 512 megabyte file size is the limit for the web client, and it's actually 2 gigs from the other clients like the desktop. So click on that up arrow, okay, we'll take our time here, and go ahead and find the file that you created. So we have brianinfo.txt. So whatever file you created is what you're going to upload to the product Cirrus here. So I'm going to click choose. Oh, look, and check it out. It turns out that since I've done this webinar before and I've been practicing, it actually points out file conflicts, which is really cool. So I'm just going to keep the new file. course, you'll probably want to name it something other than Brian Info, because it will make this example a little more fun for all. Okay, I'll give everyone a minute or so to complete this task, and I'll stop when I see maybe a handful of files that are created here. Oh, wow. So we all have plenty of files created here. People are really following along, which is awesome. I should add that right now we're all logged in under the same username, and there's potentially 200 people who could be doing this. I'm going to turn off the web access temporarily, just so we don't give it any problems. You can have as many users as you want, I should stress, as long as they're different credentials. But you can see here that it does support simultaneous logins. Okay, so bear with me as I temporarily disable our public internet access here. Okay, and so you can see, just like that, it's already disabled. All right, but that doesn't mean we can't get at it if I'm on the local network, right? So I'm going to go in, and let's have some fun. I think I'm going to open up Greg. Okay, so we have Greg here from Network Services, and I'm actually going to change this a little bit and give him a promotion from whatever job he's at now. So we're going to call him a super CEO and founder. Okay, so we've made some changes here. Let's save it. You know what? I don't think that's superlative enough. Let's add this. But you know what? I kind of want to return to what we had because Greg took the time to type this out, and we want to make sure it's a clean version. So why in the world am I doing all this? The point being is OwnCloud keeps track of all your versions as you save it. Okay? Now, I edited this in here, right? But if I synced up with the desktop client, any changes that I made to a local copy that were actually on my computer would also sync up just as fast. So let's go ahead and take a look at those versions. So I'm going to click the X. Once I've saved, I click the X to get rid of it. And let's go back down to that Greg file again. Okay? So here's, oops, we don't want to look at the file. We want to see the versions. Thank you for bearing with me. So you'll see under Greg here, I see versions. And look at this, right? We didn't have to save any special things. It's just as we edit it. Or, you know, say it's a Word doc, right? Word autosaves. So every time it autosaves, if you have a Word doc that's living on your Cirrus in OwnCloud, it will autosave versions for you. And I can tell you, the versions on OwnCloud are way better than the temp versions were saved. Okay, so I think you'll agree here that the versioning is pretty cool. And now that we've looked at how the web client works a little bit, I want to show you the mobile client. Okay, so configuration for this is actually really straightforward. Okay, so what it looks like is you actually go over here, and that link that was available, so let's go ahead and turn on that web access. You'll see it says might take a few minutes here, and it does typically take a minute or so to reestablish that connection with the relay server. But while we're doing this, like, how do you, on an iPhone, hook it up to a Cirrus? Like, aren't there lots of complicated settings to worry about? Isn't this a whole protocol? Don't we need multiple people to do this with a fleet of devices? The answer is no. I'd say the screenshot here, if you notice iPhone configuration, what I'm showing on my screen is literally the only thing that you have to do to get it working with, say, an iPhone or Android. So you can email yourself that long link, paste it in, type in the credentials, and that's it. Okay? So it's funny, for the iPhone mobile part of this demo, I thought it would be really cool if I put a VNC server or like a remote desktop server software on my iPhone so that I could navigate through the iPhone on my screen rather than holding up the phone in a clumsy manner. However, interesting aside, I noticed that VNC servers are actually not allowed on your iPhone unless you're jailbroken. So maybe I'll switch to an Android, but in the meantime, we're just going to switch to a webcam, and I'll kind of show you what's going on here. So what we're going to do is show you just how fast and how powerful the mobile client is, in that the syncs from your mobile client up are just super, super fast. So one thing you can do on your iPhone or Android is view any kind of text files or documents from the road. So you want to see what someone's doing back at the office, you just click the file, you're good to go. And it's always up to date, right? But one really cool thing you can do is actually take pictures on your iPhone, and they'll automatically be synced to your Cirrus, right? So you might think, like, why would I want to do this? I'll tell you, but first, I want to prove to you that this actually works. So bear with me one moment here as I share my webcam. So at the risk of breaking the camera on my iPhone, I'm going to take a lovely selfie here of myself, Saad, and Matt Riley. So hold tight here while we take this picture. So we're going to go back here, and you can see this is my phone here that I'm attempting to hold up, and we're going to take a picture of all of us. Wow, look at those handsome guys. Okay, so now we've taken our picture. Like, what's the point of all this? It ends up on the Cirrus in an instant. So again, I apologize for the shaky kind of seeing the iPhone on the screen here, but this is real. It's a real demo, and so that's a perk. You'll see on the screen here where my shaky finger is, there's a plus icon, okay? We're going to switch away from the camera here because it's of limited utility, but you'll see when I click plus, it lets you pick a photo on your iPhone, okay? So let's cut back to my screen. All I'm doing is picking the picture on my iPhone right now that I just took. So I just took this picture. It's not canned. We didn't do it ahead of time. And it will be up on the screen here. So the challenge, of course, will be finding it, because I'm not sure what that was named. Let's see here. Modified. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I didn't have to, like, click refresh on the screen. I didn't have to run some batch job. There was no configuration. We just click on it, and there's the picture. Okay. So two things, right? Like, what did we do here as a recap? We created content on the mobile device, and then with a single click, made it available to everyone. And that goes through the Datto cloud. So it went back up to the cloud, onto the device, and made accessible to everyone in about 2 seconds, which is pretty cool. The other really cool thing, so if you're asking, like, I'm sure there's people who are out there who are saying, like, why would I take pictures on my phone? Like, I run a business. I'm not taking selfies and putting them on my Cirrus. That may be true, but what you and definitely your clients are doing is taking pictures. Like at Datto, I know, for instance, we're really big on whiteboards, and all of our conference room walls are actually glass. I really like to diagram out new features, workflows, and user interfaces right on a glass wall. There's digital ways to do it, but I just prefer the analog for some reason. It just works for me and the team, and that's what we go with. So the obvious solution for us is to just take a picture with our phone afterward. In the past, like, someone would have to take a picture and then maybe send it to the manager, and they would put it on Google Drive or send it out as an attachment, and then there'd be versions, and it would just be a mess, and it would take a lot of time. But now I can just take a picture of a document in my conference room, and in an instant, all the people that are connected to my own cloud have it. There's no extra steps. And if you want to save time and kind of not click that plus icon and upload the photo manually, if you take a look at your iPhone client, you'll see there's a feature called Instant Upload. Of course, the warning here is that any picture you take will end up on your Cirrus. But if you do have, like, a work phone or something like that, or if your clients do, it's really handy to take pictures of, you know, documents, things that are going on, diagrams, stuff like that. Okay, one other thing, right? We've talked about these mobile clients. Like, where do you download them? Okay, it's important that you know that the proper way to download the mobile and desktop clients is actually from within the OwnCloud interface. You'll see here there's this download app button. So you'll have it for a desktop client for Windows, Linux, and Mac. as well as the Android client and then the iOS, which is what you saw. So just remember, you need a client. Always stick to the one that's actually in your own cloud instance, because we've made some customizations with Datto so that it works even better. Okay, so in looking at the kind of the web and mobile clients there, we've covered a huge use case, which is file sync and share for businesses, not consumers, with all of the security and control that you would expect, right? But I want to take a look at another benefit that OwnCloud on Cirrus gives you, which is kind of an entirely separate use case. Related, same product, additional benefit, and that is file level backup. So Datto has always believed and continues to believe that image-based backup, which is capturing those point-in-time snapshots of the entire system in a bootable format, really that's the best way to go in terms of achieving that total data protection. The thing is, the reality is that employees, like Saad was talking about, are on the road and off of their LAN more than ever. And so we now offer OwnCloud on Cirrus not just for file sync and share, but for file backup, to get those important files and folders, presentations, Word docs, you name it, backed up to a secure place right away, and make sure that just because you're on the road, you don't have to stop taking backups for a day or so. Okay, so what I want to do, and just like we went through and saw how to do it with the sync and share, we're going to see how to set it up, with the OwnCloud desktop client here for the file level backup. Okay, so again, file level backup is accomplished through the use of a desktop app. So that would be the three icons on the left here. So for my Mac, what does this look like? The install takes like 1 minute, and after that, on the Mac, it'll be in the menu bar on top, and in Windows, unsurprisingly, it will be in the system tray at the bottom. Okay, so the first step actually is to tell OwnCloud where you want to keep your backups. So different than your file sync and share, like where do you want to keep your backups? Okay, so I'm actually going to click a new folder here, and I'm going to say Brian Important Info. Okay, and we'll see someone with a sense of humor here has uploaded something that I'm going to take care of. We have Brian Important Info. So that's the target for my backup, right? Then I just need to tell the desktop client, that's where I'm going to point my backups. Okay? So I'll go to the settings menu item here. And when I do that, I get this control screen. Okay, it's going to look very similar whether you're using Mac, Windows, or Linux. Okay, you'll notice by default here, it just syncs one folder to everything on the OwnCloud instance. If you're planning on using this as a file level backup solution, the way you set this up is a little different, and I want to make sure that we go through this in detail so that you can do this with your Cirrus right after the call. Okay, so the first thing is, to start out here, if you have this default situation where it's syncing everything in this folder to basically the root level on your OwnCloud instance, you actually have to remove the sync job. Okay, notice this will not remove files. Okay, so all you're doing is removing the pairing between a local folder and a folder like on the Cirrus. Okay, so I'm going to remove this. You can always add it back later if you want to sync custom folders, just not to that root level. But let's go ahead and back some stuff up, because that's the point of this part of the demo, right? So what do I want to back up? Well, I actually have a folder here, important files. I've been working on some user guides for Datto, getting them updated. We're always changing stuff, really exciting. So I need that backed up. Okay, I'm on the road. This Mac, we're not connecting it to a Cirrus every day. It's off the network. So look, I'm going to pick that folder, and then check it out. You pick the target folder that you created just a moment ago in the web interface. It's as simple as that. Here, if there is existing content in that Brian Important folder as is, so say I created that target and then put some stuff in it, you can choose, like, do I want to also pull that stuff down and sync it, Or do I just leave it there and the only thing I want to see locally is just the stuff that I'm backing up? So in that case, that's not pertinent because that folder was just created on the web client and there was nothing in it. So I'll click Add Folder here, and right away, it syncs that process, and we're done. Okay, it's that simple. So we're going to go back here, and boom, file level backup. Okay, so like what does this boil down to? You can take a fleet of laptops, okay, create separate folders for each one. So say, like, instead of Brian important info, you could put Saad's laptop, Brian's laptop, and Matt's laptop. And on each one, download the desktop client, just sync up whatever folders you want to that target folder, and you're good to go. Like, you never again have to worry about people losing important files because they're saved as a version whenever you save it locally. Like the OwnCloud daemon detects when changes happen and syncs it up automatically. It's a push mechanism. So really, really cool. So just to sum up there, we covered those two big use cases: file, sync, and share through the various clients, and then also file level backup through the desktop client and then pairing it up to the web client there. We're really excited about this. This product is going to evolve. I really look forward to putting more and more functionality in this. And to do so, I depend on all of your detailed feedback. So thanks for your time before I pass this back to Saad here. And that's it.
All right, thanks everybody. I hope you definitely enjoyed that really interactive demo by Brian. I think right now, Matt, do we have any questions on the screen?
We got a great amount of questions coming in, guys. Again, Saad, Brian, thanks for the demo. That was awesome. Taking selfies on a webinar. I don't think anyone's seen that before. Set a question in the chat panel if you've actually seen that happen. Only at Datto.
Only at Datto.
So maybe, I don't know if we really went over this. Can we just state, like, why did Datto go in this direction with bringing OwnCloud in to the Datto product family? Why is that the necessary direction for Datto's as a company and necessary for our partners as well for protecting their clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, I would break it down. Datto is a kind of problem and solution-oriented company. We try to listen to our partners, figure out what's going to work best, get it out there at a reasonable price, take feedback, and fix it. So the use cases were file level backup and file sync and share. The file level backup we covered, right? If you're off the network and you can't get on, the file sync and share was, in a way, almost bigger and more complicated because more and more people are using Dropbox, and we know that MSPs needed an alternative. It's not cool for sensitive information to leave the network and then just be part of some consumer grade, upload it with the rest of your grandma's photos type thing. So we needed something enterprise grade. As Austin was talking about at our recent conference, the decision from his standpoint is, do we develop this? Do we go out and purchase a company? Or do we form a really meaningful partnership? All of those were viable options, but we just stumbled upon OwnCloud, and it was like an instant fit. They just had what we needed. They shared the same values. They were open to working with us. The whole thing just clicked. So it was the kind of thing where our partners had a business need. We wanted to go out and do it the best way we could. And something like OwnCloud that's proven and used by Fortune 500 companies, that's it. Fortune 500 companies pay big money for this. So it's proven, and it was kind of a no-brainer. I'm a huge fan, always have been. I'm just really excited.
Awesome. Ton of questions coming in. A lot of them regarding permissions, specifically, and it's maybe an OwnCloud specific question, so let me know if we're going too deep into OwnCloud, but can you restrict a user with their data usage so that a road warrior doesn't completely fill up the Cirrus on the local site with their MP3s or their, entire video library that they have on their laptop?
Absolutely. So OwnCloud has a feature called File Firewall, and what that does, it allows you actually to write kind of custom rules. Okay, these rules are written in JSON per kind of OwnCloud's API. And if you take a look at the OwnCloud documentation, you'll find it gives you tremendous flexibility. One of the simplest things you can do in there is actually look and say, listen, I don't want the user to upload more than this amount of information over this time span. So, the question asker right there is definitely on point, and it's something that works well.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Brian. Got some questions on storage in the Datto cloud from OwnCloud. Is that going to be attributed to their overall storage, what they're paying for with Datto, or how is that working with storage?
Yeah, absolutely. So your storage from OwnCloud, that actually raises a really good point that we didn't touch on. So the most important thing about this, right, and I will get to the question there, is that the data lives on the Cirrus. But I would be seriously remiss if I did not mention that obviously Datto is a backup company. It started as a backup company, and that's our core business. So your data does not only live on the device, okay? It's on your Cirrus in that OwnCloud on Cirrus instance, and then also the most recent version of whatever you have on your OwnCloud is mirrored to the Datto cloud once a day, okay? So that's, to answer the question, yes, the storage used by your OwnCloud instance will be reflected in how much you're using in the cloud because it keeps a full backup copy there. Okay, why do we do that? If your device, someone spills coffee on it, or if there's a hurricane, we can ship you a new device with OwnCloud and all of the stuff already on it. That being said, you shouldn't worry about a 2-to-1 multiplier or anything like that. So as a good rule of thumb, just add however much data you anticipate. I would say, in the next 6 months, I would plan a little bit out because I think you'll find that people start using this pretty heavily. So basically, it's in the cloud. Don't worry about 2-to-1, and we've got your back, if something happens to the Cirrus.
Excellent, excellent. A lot of questions coming in regarding AD integration. Is that something that's integrated into OwnCloud now, or is it something on the roadmap?
Yeah, there's a number of integrations there. AD specifically was not offered at launch, but there is something related that people can use, which is WebDAV integration. I'm happy to kind of a deep topic there in terms of configuration with the time we have left. But I should add that of the improvements, making AD seamless along with a few other things is on the immediate roadmap for OwnCloud.
A ton of questions coming in. Just trying to filter for all y'all. Thank you for your patience. So can this be used for external users not on the domain to upload large documents? A typical situation is a law firm receiving discovery files.
Absolutely. There's no domain credentials required here. Really, just that huge benefit is that it's publicly available with one click.
What's the instance with managing file conflicts? For example, 2 people are working on the same file at the same time. How does OwnCloud handle that? How does Cirrus handle that?
Sure. So with OwnCloud, of course, one way that you could envision it working is sort of like a source code version control thing, where it actually merges the contents of the text and asks you, like line by line, which one you want. But OwnCloud is a little bit simpler. It'll just go with the latest save. If you want to lock it, the good news, I'm still on the screen share here, right, Matt?
Oh, yes, you are.
Okay, great. So if you'll take a look at this, since we have a moment here, I want to show you how you look at some of the apps on OwnCloud. I bring this up because there's a specific app that will address your concern called file locking. Okay? You'll notice admin is here, and you have to click to show the password. So this is my password for the admin user. And by using admin, you have access, of course, to a few additional items. One of them, if you click over here, you'll see apps. Okay? And this is how an OwnCloud administrator will enable or disable the things that the plugins. So if you'll take a look at, let's see here, file locking, it's disabled right now. If you want to make sure only one person can see it, it's real easy. You just go in, click enable, one and done. So I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions here, Matt.
Yeah, we got another question. Can we go over how kind of the phone comes into play? I know we backed up some phone files, but how else does the phone come into play with working with the Cirrus and the OwnCloud solution?
Sure, absolutely. The key thing is you want to think of the phone as a portal to data or content that anyone else has created on their desktop or really on any desktop or server that's hooked up to the OwnCloud on Cirrus. So we don't see the phone right now as like a huge content creation device. I think tablets are getting there, and I think the phone may get there, but I think people do a lot of their content creation still over email, believe it or not. So right now, when you look at kind of the mobile app situation for OwnCloud, it's really about taking a look at that content, viewing it, consuming it, and then also you get that picture upload as well for documents and diagrams and such like that.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. So then we're just going to wrap this up with one last question, let everyone get back to their days. Is there any type of reporting for OwnCloud that our partners can use to see the usage?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things you can take a look at here, and hopefully this addresses the question here, is if you take a look at the activity panel, actually it is the, if you go to admin and then admin, down here, you'll see these are just some random messages that I had when I was testing this last night. But if you actually use this with lots of users, information about what's going on, like who accessed what, will appear kind of right in here in your log.
Great. All right, we're going to wrap this up, guys. Saad, Brian, thank you so much for the insight. Excellent demo, guys. I think everyone really loved the product. If there's any question we get to some of you guys, we're going to answer those offline, bring them to your sales rep, or Brian and Saad will try to reach out to you guys as well. Thanks again for taking the time out of your day. I know a lot of this is pretty early in the morning for you guys. Really appreciate you coming out. Saad, Brian, anything to say before we wrap up?
No, thank you again, and we really hope that this is a product that you can see really solving some of your business challenges. And as Brian stated, we're really excited about this new product. So thank you again.
All right, thanks everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.